YouTube? GK's back with And What Did Those Critics Say? We'll jump right in to IGN. Jonathan Dornbush, long-awaited action RPG that's full of heart. Kingdom Hearts 3's long endgame is satisfying, but not surprising. So this quote shows that this reviewer is a fan and knows of the series, so it'd be interesting to see what he'll say. I didn't expect to fall so deeply in love with the combat. That's a theme that we'll see throughout the reviews, the combat being great. The quality of the storytelling in each world is similarly hit or miss. He often loved some worlds and disliked some worlds. This is a criticism, and he's also saying that since there's not that many worlds, to not like a few is kind of a detriment to the game, but stays relatively positive. Exploring the worlds of Frozen and Tangled felt relatively mundane. Those are two specific worlds that he had this problem with. This new set of movie-quality Disney worlds are almost all delights to explore. The sheer amount of treasures to collect and hidden Mickey emblems to discover really highlights the scale and detail of each world. So acknowledges that maybe some of the worlds may not be for him. The worlds mixed with that Disney touch, those cinematics and everything about them really works with the game. But surprisingly, a few negatives here. And with a total score of an 8.7 great, Kingdom Hearts 3 is a fulfilling evolution and resolution of the franchise that shows it's still full of heart. We get the overall attitude this reviewer had of Kingdom Hearts 3. It was a little harsh in the beginning until we really brought out those bits that showed that this reviewer really liked the game. Now, how did everyone kind of feel with Metacritic? The Metascore was an 83 and the user score was an 8.0. To really understand this, though, we have to look at this graph. The critic reviews, only one negative review. The user reviews, 69 of them. That's kind of a big difference, so we'll have to get into some of these reviews here. We'll look at 13 years spurred. Listen, I'm coming into this game as a long-time super fan, but I had really very measured expectations given the long and rough development cycle. But now that I've finished it, I can say with a clear heart this game has lowered the bar. I cannot begin to fathom the overwhelming praise for what has to be the singular worst title in the entire franchise. Very, very harsh criticism from 13 Years Spurred. We'll read a reviewer later that actually wrote a negative review about Kingdom Hearts in the installment, and he did it just for attention. And he mentions it in his review, so keep that in mind as well. Dark Station, Kingdom Hearts 3 is an amazing yet flawed game made from the most diehard fans of the series. While newcomers can still enjoy the quick-paced gameplay, the extremely complicated story will surely leave them bewildered. Dark Station gave it an 80 and a green, yet with that glaring of a negative, it wonders how can you give it a green score. People's review scales are really, really uneven and unbalanced, and I hope to bring some balance to this force. Nintendo 64, in terms of audio and aesthetics, this installment blows all of its predecessors out of the water. The visuals are straight out of a fully rendered Pixar movie, and it always Square never fails to deliver when it comes to KH music. The story, on the other hand, was poorly paced, unfortunately. Okay, and that's Metacritic. I mean, it's hard to talk about Metacritic without sounding too biased to the game, so I'm going to leave it there. Instead of commenting on each review and what everybody says about the game, we'll do that at the end like we usually do. On to Games Radar. Kingdom Hearts 3 review. I'm not sure how I lived without its Mickey Mouse-shaped madness in my life, by Rachel Weber. And, as Games Radar is wont to do, pros and cons list. It's Disneyland, but you're mercying monsters with a giant key. The Pixar worlds are on point. Combat that feels like parade every time. Let it go. Reference to Frozen. Cons. A storyline so complex it would give George R.R. Martin nightmares. Funny, R.R. Martin is making a game with From Software, which is probably going to be a nightmare. The Gummy Ship, that whole embarrassing Pirates of the Caribbean section. That's a big con. One of the most memorable scenes to me was the Pirates of the Caribbean opening with the boat. It's magnificent. Captain Jack Sparrow, straight from the uncanny valley, and let's not even talk about that waxed-faced version of Will Turner or Elizabeth Swann. Gurn for Sora as rather lost its charm. To add insult to injury, the world is joyless too, and includes an aerial battle with a giant boss bird that was so enraging it nearly made me break dry January. Apparently, dry January must be important to this author because, the metaphor there is cool. It's just really to show that they did not like the Pirates of the Caribbean world. Maybe that boss was too hard, who knows? But let's get on to some more quotes. Now, if you're new to the series or have been out of the loop for a while, this might all sound a bit much, which we just heard in the previous quote and the pros and cons that the story's so crazy. Forget World of Warcraft or Metal Gear, the Kingdom Hearts series is one of the most impenetrable stories ever committed to pixels. That's this writer's opinion. I myself may not totally agree with that. The Keyblade is your main weapon, but combat in Kingdom Hearts 3 is a spectacular of spells, special attacks, and summons that make every battle feel like the 4th of July. That is definitely true, and we heard a little bit about the combat before. To get anywhere new, you have to traverse a space filled with enemies, obstacles, and the occasional treasure sphere, floating puzzles with goodies in. But it's the blandest part of the game, missing any Disney magic and instead feeling like a slightly dusty arcade game. Talking about the gummy ship and the traveling here, I really like this review. It showed two sides and a lot of cons that you would think would bring a game scored down. But Kingdom Hearts 3, I believe, is a game that another reviewer will talk about. It is very hard to review with a total score of 4 out of 5. Kingdom Hearts 3 still madder than a box of frogs, but its magical Disney charms make it worth the long wait. Definitely agree with that last little snippet there. Let's move on. Now, to one of the most infuriating reviews I've ever read by Tim Rogers of Kotaku. I'm going to show the overall first, and I say infuriating only because a lot in part of the writing choice, and then some of the critiques are just totally biased. However, the review is huge, gigantic, manifesto, very Freudian, I might say, as a minor joke, but otherwise written nicely. However, we'll read the recap. Played the main campaign 32 hours with some light end game moseying. Disliked. It's 2019 and we still have enemies that disappear and reappear again over and over. The gummy ship sucks. Looking for Olaf's body parts in Frozen World, like I'm looking for a snowman in snow, white on white. Liked. Complex and deliciously unpredictable combat. Decadent cutscenes. Uraha Hikaru. That's just to give you the overview. Now, when we talk about the essay, I'm probably going to run along here, so bear with me because I think it's an essay worth definitely checking out a lot more detail. And I think you'll get a great sense of the review as a whole from his review. Basically, the game is very hard to review because if you don't remove your bias, you're stuck with multiple versions of yourself, as you'll see from our author, who are trying to decide to make a critique of this game. Kingdom Hearts' reputation for narrative convolution will always precede it. This reputation is largely unearned. You only need to watch 1 or 2 summary videos to learn enough to follow every relevant plot beat in Kingdom Hearts 3. I liked that a lot because at the beginning of the game, you're allowed to watch a cutscene that shows what's already happened, and there's no reason why, if you're new, you come into Kingdom Hearts 3 without have checked up on something realistically. So when reviewers talk about that kind of stuff that we've heard before, this guy gets it right when it comes to that at the least. Is this a mockery of completionist video game behavior? Is this a representation of Sora's perpetual smile, just barely masking a struggle to focus on the good memories and not allow the weight of his fate to crush him physically dead? By requiring the player to photograph a few dozen walls if they want the true ending, is Tetsuya Nomura trolling us? To this quote, I say, why the secret ending was locked behind pictures? was for players' ease and comfort, because it used to be locked behind a super boss. And I was very disappointed that it wasn't locked behind that, but I see why you made the pictures, because it forced you to look things up about the game and find, those pictures, even though you don't need all of them. So that was a very big disappointment for me, that the cutscene wasn't locked behind the super boss. Yet he's uncontent with that and still tries to crush the photo thing. Yeah, the photo thing was, to my opinion, not as good as a super boss requiring it. Still had gripes with how they gave us the super secret ending. It remains unreviewable for me personally. Long ago, I wrote for my personal blog a negative review of Kingdom Hearts 1, in which I described the game as like being alone in nuclear Disneyland. Despite that, I had played and thoroughly enjoyed the game as a controller, passing activity with friends. 3 years later, while working at Sony Computer Entertainment Japan, I scored a copy of Kingdom Hearts 2. 1 month before its release in Japan, I blasted through the game. I loved every minute. Then I wrote an evil, cruel review on my personal blog. I gave it 0 out of 4 stars. I did this for attention, and it worked. That review got me about 4 million hits and 6,000 comments from terrified, irate fans. I want what I just read to sink in. It is admirable that the person did admit to doing that to Kingdom Hearts 2. And then to be given the position shows that honest hard work has come from a place of lowness, that he takes the time to mention. So it is commendable for that. However, to do that still puts a fear in the heart of anybody reading the review that the person still may not be able to find the voice and convince someone that they're telling truthful statements. How he combats this is in a long-winded metaphor. And if you think I'm going long, this metaphor was long. So we're just sticking to some of his outright facts here. I don't like the gummy ship. This is like a canceled Dreamcast game no one remembers. The gummy ship is the video game equivalent of salad. The gummy ship is the video game equivalent of a $13 takeout salad from that place that people in the office always talk about how long the line is. The Pirates of the Caribbean ship battles, on the other hand, are cookie salad with chocolate pudding dressing. So here's someone who liked the Pirates of the Caribbean, at least the ship battles in that area. And you notice a little bit of repetition there. He very much likes that. Gosh, look at them graphics, Sora. That's a headline, tagline. And his joke kind of speaking in Donald and Goofy's voices as they equate to a younger, immature himself, and in Donald being the older, mature version of this reviewer, which he writes in the review. More about the facts. The frozen world, meanwhile, just looks like a lot of snow. In the dark, most of the snow is in the dark because snow in the daylight is migraine fuel, and modern TVs with their 4K and their HDR are magnitudes brighter than even the best HD TVs of 2006. The daylight snow segments in Kingdom Hearts 3 literally required me to put sunglasses on. The title screen also requires sunglasses. I don't know if it's a joke, but I don't know what kind of TV he's playing on. I don't know if he's insinuating he is playing on 4K with their HDR, or it's just universal. That's just not true, and just the weirdest of nitpicks, honestly. So here's when I was talking about the metaphor. Now my inner Donald goes on to speak. My inner Donald Duck goes on to speak. My inner Donald Duck goes on to speak. He'll talk as if he's trying to review the game while playing the game, while also being 3 other people, himself, Donald Duck, and Goofy, and then Sora. So he's kind of got 4 personalities going on in his essay. And I wanted to show how he thinks about the game overall. I never think of it as an RPG. It's more of a lower stress character action game. It's Disney May Cry. Someone has definitely called it that before. That might very well be true. I've never heard of it. However, you can't think of this as an RPG at all. I want you to take a second and think about what you think Kingdom Hearts is as an RPG, or do you think that this guy's right, that it's Disney May Cry? I'll leave my opinion for a little later. But more to this essay, because it really got to me. So while he's having these long inner monologues between his inner Donald and inner Goofy, and Goofy being the one on the side of, I really love this game for what it is. He says, my inner Donald Duck says, well, yeah, Goofy has won this round. So he's always playing a game into which what kind of reviewer or person he wants to be while he looks at this game. And he loves repetition. On the one hand, goes on to speak. On the one hand, goes on to speak. On the other hand, goes on to speak. I just wanted to point out some of these writing things, which I'm going to start doing as we look at some of these, because they are well written. Not knocking it. I'm just showing that the review off. Voice actors, perhaps working from a script that always in flux, still emphasize the wrong word or syllable every other sentence. They still pronounce character names multiple, subtly different ways. Again, this makes no sense to me. I want the characters to feel alive. How I might say a name might be different from you saying a name, even though we're saying the same name. Dialects, tones. I don't mind that, and I did not notice that every other syllable was emphasized wrong. I also thought of it as that's how Disney works. They emphasize those things. Let's not forget what kind of game Kingdom Hearts is, and the target audience. Even though it's Kingdom Hearts 3, you can never forget the real target audience. Again, Kingdom Hearts 3. It's still Kingdom Hearts, so it's still a PlayStation 2 game at heart. It is a museum exhibiting its own architecture. Its decadent spectacle is the closest games have come yet to giving me the catharsis of walking into a Louis Vuitton store and neither buying anything nor being asked to leave. I challenge a Metacritic to extract a number from that last paragraph. Well, I will be extracting a number from your essay, so don't worry about Metacritic. I told you, a little too meta for Metacritic. And talks about his basic feeling that what Kingdom Hearts is, he's always trying to figure out, it seems, through his essay. He still doesn't know what Kingdom Hearts is, or is at least giving off the impression that he wants to figure it out honestly this time. I loved every second of Kingdom Hearts 3, even the seconds during which my inner Donald would not stop quacking. As I arrived at the loud, dramatic conclusion, all my frustrations dissipated and my inner Goofy stood victorious. So he's talking about how he ended up feeling. Yet, let's check out his last little comment here that really ticked me off. What I'm saying is, Kingdom Hearts 3 kinda sucks, and that's why I love it. If Kingdom Hearts 3 kills you, you will at least not die hungry. 32 hours of total mainline campaign gameplay, 4K and 60 FPS most of the time on Xbox One X, video games forever. So, why does the game suck? This reviewer, I think, and I'm going to interject here, is because he couldn't objectively review it, which he does kind of say in his essay. However, to have the inner monologues and to show that you couldn't come to a significant conclusion on how you're going to approach reviewing a game fairly and saying that it sucks, which you know is not true, only because you feel like you should be an adult, be very pretentious, be very arrogant, really rubbed me the wrong way, because writing the review in such an inaccessible manner for people really let you get off what you wanted to say with really no kickback. So when we look at the average total reviews, we'll see where this review will land in the scale we'll give him. However, as of right now, he's sitting very mediocre in terms of the ending. He made some astute, crazy, the best few and scattered points, though. However, we'll keep moving on. I know I harped on that. We'll end with Polygon. Kingdom Hearts 3 ends the series with a whimper. After years of build-up, the story's conclusion fails to do it justice. Allegra Frank. So let's see what she kind of means by that. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but we need the facts, the details. Its naughty lore often intimidates newcomers and has become a punchline to its more skeptical critics. But for those of us who are invested in the series about a boy with big feet and a key for a sword who makes friends with Disney princesses and Mickey Mouse over what complexity is half the fun. So, we get the call out here that it intimidates people. Well, I don't think that the lore intimidates people, more so that they're coming into a story in the third installment. Sorry. That's just such a lame critique to me. There's no way to fit the Disney bits into Kingdom Hearts 3 without them feeling like a roadblock. Now, they're talking about something completely different here, and I think it'll show off more from a quote later on. However, right here, it is kind of a heavy and loaded statement to say that the Disney bits, kind of whatever that means, doesn't fit with Square Enix. I would totally disagree there. I believe Square and Disney are a match made in heaven when it comes to Kingdom Hearts 3, and I don't believe the statement here that the bits don't fit. I don't know if they're talking about side missions. I don't know if they're talking about Disney, where I don't get it. So we'll just move on there, but okay. I keep wondering what's changed here. Is it the game or is it me? Is this what growing up feels like? Am I old now? Because it's suddenly so confusing and frustrating how little rationale I get for this journey through Disney's catalog, despite the characters and venues being the bulk of the franchise and despite the script having so many words. Again, this internal turmoil reviewers seem to have when they review Kingdom Hearts 3 for some reason, as if it's just not a game, it's something more. So, and they don't really talk about that too much. Some people do emphasize what Kingdom Hearts means to them as a gamer. However, to try to analyze and be confused by the rationale for the journey means you are not invested in the story and the lore, even if you only played the first two actual big installments, 1 and 2. That's all that kind of says in actuality. With so much space set aside for battle, plus the whole epic finale thing, I had high hopes that at least the copious boss fights would make up for whatever the worlds themselves are missing. This is rarely the case. Kingdom Hearts 3 mostly lacks strategy, with its battle system simplified to a few buttons. To that I say you can play the game on hard, and if you're a gamer and not playing the game on hard initially and it has the option, or at least didn't try it out, I feel bad for you. I'm sorry. However, excluding that, and my personal feeling there, the battle system, yeah, it was kind of easy. I'll give you that if that's what you're trying to say. The copious boss fights, no, I don't feel like they were copious at all. In fact, I would have loved more. And I don't understand what is missing from all the worlds, right? A lot of the other reviewers said that maybe some of the worlds they weren't feeling, or some aspects of the worlds they weren't feeling. This reviewer is just saying outright that all the worlds, because of the Disney bits, are lacking something. Never say what that lacking is, though, however. But Kingdom Hearts isn't simple anymore. It isn't just a toy in bright colors and Disney heroes. Instead, the conclusion of the story is tangled up in so many conflicting threads, each one a heavy burden on its hero, whose smile now feels unnerving. Kingdom Hearts 3 is an example of what can go wrong when a series, and that continues. I love this statement because they say something that they don't mean to say because they're missing, the viewer's missing something. Check this out. Instead, the conclusion of the story is tangled up in so many conflicting threads, each one a heavy burden on its hero, whose smile now feels unnerving. How much more growth do you want from your main character in the third game? Did you want the epic conclusion and Kingdom Hearts be done forever? Or did you want Sora to grow? I was okay with either one, right, as a fan of a series. And while, yes, I do think more could have been added to the game, let's not get me wrong here, it's about the reviewer. And this reviewer admitted a keen observation, just unfortunately falls on the other side of the fence with it than I do. But it's not simple anymore. That's also a great thing. So I'm confused. As an adult, did this person want something simple to go back to? Or as an adult, did this person growing up, did this person want more of a challenge? It seems the person wanted their cake and have the icing too, or whatever that phrase is. Anyway, let's go do some quick math and get our average scores. So tallying up all our scores, this quick math should be no surprise to you now. Kotaku and Polygon, no numerical score. So we're going to use our averages and try to equate them something fair. We came up with an 80 and an 81.5 due to the fact that Polygon just wrecked the game, and that's the lowest we could go is an 80 to be fair. And then Kotaku's guy, a lot of gripes with, but he didn't necessarily, he said it sucked, but he loved it. So we're going to give him the 81.5, and that 81.5 is actually the average Metacritic score. So tallying all of our scores up, final score for Kingdom Hearts 3, an 82. I feel an 82 is way too low out of these average scores. In fact, by several points. If anything, I suggest you go look back at some of the games we've already done and go check the scores out that were given to those games and then the average we got, and then compare the game itself. Kingdom Hearts was unfairly criticized, and I'm going to give my genuine critiques of the game. I wanted the Super Boss lock on content. I definitely wanted it to be a little more challenging. I definitely wanted a couple more worlds. I definitely wanted a huge conclusion, but that somehow still kept the series going. You gotta remember, Kingdom Hearts, the audience, there's a generation of kids out there who have a Switch now, just like you had a PSP maybe, and they would love to play a Kingdom Hearts lore story game, a spin-off game, so to speak. You can't say that some of those spin-off games weren't amazing, and those games are canon, and they're not just spin-offs. They're great. Dream Drop Distance. You had the original Terra Aqua Ventus story. These are stories that you can't tell in the mainline franchise because of the gravitas that it pulls as a Kingdom Hearts game. And while I found the ending satisfying to a point, it was a little not to me because I played everything. But again, I can understand what it was like and what it is still like looking at the game objectively. Kingdom Hearts. And I think a lot of reviewers played with their maturity too much and couldn't give the game its fair shake. The anticipation aside for it, the personal feelings, the game is not an 82. That's just way too low. So I'm GK, and I'll see y'all next time. Wait. With something new, I think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm over here rushing because I know I'm going long this episode. Let me know what you thought. And did you play Kingdom Hearts 3? What did you really think? Was it in line with any of the reviewers?